The story of Snowpiercer has always been about more than just a train. It's about survival, humanity, and the fragile balance between hope and despair. Every step forward brings new risks, and every decision could change the future forever. With tensions running high and trust in short supply, the struggle for control and survival grows more intense than ever. The world fell apart when climate change spiraled out of control. Wars made it worse, scientists failed to fix it, and Earth froze over. Billionaire inventor Mr. Wilford saw it coming and built Snowpiercer, a 1001 car train carrying what was left of humanity. It was meant for the rich, but desperate poor people forced their way on board, sparking chaos. Now, nearly 7 years later, the train circles a frozen globe. At the very back, the Tailies barely survive on tiny food rations. Andre Layton encourages a boy named Miles to study hard, but hope is fading. The Tailies plan a revolt after learning their rations are halved and women are being sterilized. Josie pushes for action, while Pike doubts Leighton's loyalty. Up front, Melanie Cavill, the train's hospitality chief, tends to wealthy passengers' petty complaints while hiding Unrest. She later arrives in the tale and orders Leighton taken away. Instead of punishment, he's asked to help solve a murder since he was once a detective. Leighton hesitates, bargaining for better conditions for his people. Back in the tale, an elder named Ivan takes his own life, fueling more anger. As rebellion erupts, Melanie struggles to keep control, while secretly revealed to be posing as Wilford himself. In the tale, Ruth declares someone must pay for the rebellion. Guards grab young Winnie, but her mother Suzanne takes the blame instead. Her arm is frozen outside the train and shattered, leaving the crowd horrified. Meanwhile, Melanie keeps her deal with Leighton, sparing rebel leaders by putting them into stasis. Up front, Javi warns the train is moving too fast, but Melanie refuses to slow down, hiding the danger from passengers. She and Ruth later serve first-class breakfast, calming fears about unrest and the murder. Leighton continues the investigation with Brakeman Till, questioning Carter, who found the body. Suspicion grows when access points suggest the killer moved it across cars. Nikki, still in stasis, struggles to wake. Leighton visits the night car, speaking with singer Audrey and reconnecting with his ex-wife Zara. Meanwhile, Till and Leighton suspect cannibalism when severed limbs are linked to butchers. They eventually find the remains hidden in a refrigerator. An avalanche smashes through an agriculture car, killing livestock, while blackouts force Melanie to ration resources. Apprentice selection continues, and Miles is chosen to move up train. Leighton later maps the train for the tale, but after being beaten, confronts Melanie, realizing the murder is tied to Wilford's secrets. Children chosen as apprentices undergo medical checks while trading across Snowpiercer continues, with everyone hoping to climb to first. Leighton dreams of Zara leaving the tale, but is dragged awake by guards. Melanie issues a speech in Wilford's voice to calm unrest, then pushes forward with a prize fight where the winner earns an upgrade. Leighton is interrogated by Melanie and Rush, who reveal Sean was looking into chronol, a drug spreading through Third. Leighton exposes that Oz deals it in the tale. Meanwhile, Till visits Jinju and their relationship deepens. Roche and Leighton confront Oz, who later warns Terrence about Leighton. Nikki finally wakes, showing signs of withdrawal. Leighton connects chronol to the suspension drug used in the drawers, and Klimt admits it's being repurposed. At fight night, Melanie broadcasts another fake Wilford speech, while Leighton hunts for Sean's supplier. Zara points him toward Terrence, but demands his wedding ring in trade. Terrence later admits he sold chronole to Sean, who was with a young man from First the night he died. Chaos breaks out when Nikki, desperate for more drugs, stumbles into the arena. Leighton bargains to see Josie, assuring her Miles is safe. Secretly, he slips her an access chip, setting up the next move. Jinju shares the history of Snowpiercer, saying survival is slim, but hope matters. Bennett warns Melanie about handling the murder case alone, but their talk ends when Roach calls. Nikki has been killed. Melanie comforts Klimt, the doctor, but orders a secret autopsy. Leighton is furious, saying he warned her about the killer. Till notes the border is sealed, so the murderer must still be in Third. In the mess hall, Eric pretends he needs to return to Second, but leaves behind first-class coins, raising suspicion. Melanie and Leighton confront First, where the Folger family resists. Their daughter, LJ, reveals Eric never came back from fight night. Searching his room, Leighton finds a strange hook and presses LJ for answers, but she dodges. Melanie pushes harder, learning Eric was close to LJ. Robert hints they were too close. Leighton realizes Eric held victims while LJ orchestrated the killings. Josie sneaks into sanitation with an access chip, makes contact with Astrid, and learns about Leighton. Meanwhile, Eric tries to flee, but ends up holding Jinju hostage before Gray's soldiers kill him. LJ pretends to grieve, but Leighton exposes her as the true killer. She's arrested, but Melanie drugs Leighton and secretly locks him in the drawers. Leighton suffers in the drawers, haunted by nightmares of Nikki. Audrey mourns her, and says things must change. Melanie sets up a tribunal for LJ despite the Folgers' protests that it hurts their standing in first. In the tale, Josie tends to a sick Suzanne, but sneaks up train again to meet Astrid. Bess is upgraded to second under Jinju's watch, and the two grow closer. Meanwhile, the Folgers coach LJ on how to act at trial, but she refuses to claim Eric forced her. Tensions rise when the night car sends a grotesque meal to first, demanding third have a voice in the tribunal. Melanie reluctantly agrees, naming one representative from each class. Josie meets Terrence, the janitor leader, who tells her they'll search the drawers for Leighton. In first, Robert secretly suggests Melanie be removed, but a Wilford informant reports this back to her. At trial, evidence ties LJ to Sean's murder, and Audrey's speech rouses the train. During recess, Josie sneaks into medical, finds children frozen in drawers, and frees Leighton with Bess's help. The tribunal finds LJ guilty, but Melanie announces Wilford has commuted her sentence, sparking riots. Josie hides Leighton with Zara, though he begins suffering violent withdrawal symptoms. Oz opens with memories of life before the freeze, admitting he preferred the old world but has adjusted to Snowpiercer. Flyers urging a strike spread through Third, worrying Melanie, who vows to crush it. Leighton, weak from cronole withdrawal, wakes with Zara but is soon taken away by Josie. Fearing he may not survive, he reveals the truth. Wilford is a myth, and Melanie secretly runs the train. Riots erupt in Third as workers demand recognition. Melanie warns that strikers risk banishment to the tail, quieting the crowd. Meanwhile, Bennett discovers an electrical fault tied to the wheels. Melanie later joins him as the brakes seize, forcing repairs. Elsewhere, Till questions Oz about the flyers, but he blackmails her into compliance during their investigation. In the tale, Suzanne dies, leaving Winnie in Patterson's care. Pelton, a medic, reveals to Leighton and Josie that some passengers are marked with red X's, a blacklist of enemies, including themselves. Zara confides in Audrey, revealing she's pregnant, but Audrey refuses to back down from the strike. Later, Leighton confronts Melanie with a knife, but a hydraulic failure interrupts. Melanie risks her life under the train, saving it just in time. In the engine, Javi fears Leighton will expose the truth that Wilford isn't real and suggests confessing, but Melanie and Bennett shut it down. Melanie instead announces that an engineer died, and by tradition, Miles will train as the new apprentice. Ruth worries he's being pushed too fast. Leighton and Josie hear the news while hiding. Josie insists on reaching Miles despite the danger, and the two share a quiet moment remembering life before the freeze. Meanwhile, Melanie learns Leighton escaped the drawers and suspects Terrence's connection to him. Under threat, Terrence offers to help capture Leighton. Miles celebrates his new role, but soon falls sick and is taken to medical, where Josie, disguised, briefly reunites with him and whispers about the coming revolution. Later, Ruth goes on a date with Gray, only to be ambushed by Lila and Robert, who push for Ruth to replace Melanie. Melanie confronts Zara, then captures Josie, torturing her for Leighton's location. Josie refuses, even after losing a finger. Eventually, she sacrifices herself, shattering her frozen arm to fight back before succumbing to the cold. Till delivers the devastating news to Leighton. Finally, Leighton corners LJ, offering her the ultimate secret. Wilford doesn't exist. Miles secretly signals LJ, bringing her into the engine where she learns the truth. Melanie, not Wilford, controls the train. Meanwhile, Leighton and his allies finalize their revolution, planning to strike in Third. Bess quietly warns her partner Jinju to stay away without revealing details. In First, powerful passengers accuse Melanie of lying about Wilford. A fight breaks out, and Nolan seizes control, ordering her arrest despite her protests. With guards pulled up train, Leighton's people move. Bess frees Leighton from custody and escorts him to the tail, where he rallies everyone, declaring this is the day they march for freedom and for those they lost. As communications go down, Oz and the brakeman grow suspicious but are too late. Audrey and Murray also discover Strongboy hidden in the drawers. Meanwhile, Ruth confronts Melanie, devastated by the lies. Melanie admits she left Wilford to die because he gave up on humanity, but Ruth can't forgive her and says she'll be executed. Leighton and Bess convince Roche to let the tail pass, sparing a bloody fight with the brakeman. The jackboots, however, launch a brutal counterattack. After heavy losses, Gas forces Leighton to retreat and seal the night car, leaving some behind. Ruth later frees Pike, who warns that Leighton's hope may soon break. Melanie is locked up with rebels from the tail in Third, where Santiago confirms she is the real Cavill. Their talk is cut short when jackboots drag Walter away to his death. In First, Nolan proposes gassing the rebels, ignoring the risk to civilians. Ruth pushes for a proper trial for Melanie, but Lila wants the revolt crushed quickly. Bennett scolds Miles for letting LJ into the engine, then secretly works on a backup radio. Meanwhile, Pike tells Leighton about Nolan's plan to gas the train and offers a deal. Leighton's surrender in exchange for sparing the tail. Though conflicted, Leighton eventually gives in after learning from Zara that she is pregnant with his child. While Nolan and Ruth argue over Melanie's past, she narrowly avoids execution thanks to Javi, who helps her escape. She reaches Leighton and offers a plan to cut off the jackboots by separating train cars. Despite distrust, Audrey and Till support her idea. At Fremont Junction, Melanie hands Leighton her access chip. Roche pretends to deliver Leighton's surrender, only for Melanie to detach the jackboots and Folgers instead. Leighton, however, is forced to sacrifice hostages when he cannot free them in time, leaving him furious with Melanie. Melanie steps down as leader, handing the train to Leighton and apologizing for her past choices. She retreats to the engine, saying she has one last task. Leighton mourns Josie with Miles, urging him to stay strong as they face hard times ahead. Later, Leighton addresses the train, declaring passengers now own Snowpiercer and promising democratic rule. Ruth bristles, insisting order will collapse without control, while Roche urges her to at least support Leighton. Elsewhere, Pike takes over LJ's carriage, turning it into a party den and throwing her out in tears. In the engine, Javi notices a strange signal that Bennett hides, fearing what it means. Melanie later breaks down in the night car with Audrey, confessing her deepest regret, leaving her daughter behind. Down train, Bess and Jinju clash over food rations and Melanie's secrets, ending their relationship. Melanie then tries to reconcile with Ruth, but Ruth rejects her. Soon after, Melanie and the engineers realize the signal is coming from another train. It's Big Alice, marked with Wilford's name. Leighton prepares defenses as Ruth organizes a welcome. Big Alice catches Snowpiercer, forcing a stop. To everyone's shock, the boarding party reveals Melanie's daughter, Alexandra, is alive. Melanie struggles outside in the freeze, trying to reach the engine until Bennett and Javi finally switch to backup comms. She warns that Snowpiercer can't run without Big Alice anymore, but she manages to cut Wilford's control and hand life support back. Even with her suit failing, she refuses to quit. Inside Snowpiercer, Alex delivers Wilford's demands and gives only minutes to comply. Rebels gather everything but morphine, offering aspirin instead, which Alex accepts. With the trains linked for good, Melanie plants explosives beneath the cars before being forced aboard Big Alice. There, she's shocked to see Kevin alive and vengeful, and even more shaken to discover her daughter Alex, who resents her. Wilford confronts Melanie, demanding control, but she insists the train belongs to its people. Meanwhile, Leighton tries to keep peace as tensions rise. Zara is attacked and reveals she's pregnant with his child, which Ruth calls a symbol of hope. Martial law is declared, angering many. Pike then tricks Big Alice into a trade and the rebels storm their tail. But Wilford unleashes Bob, a brutal enforcer, forcing retreat. Finally, Wilford orders detachment, but Melanie's earlier sabotage ensures the trains are permanently bound, leaving him furious. Melanie recalls her father before the freeze, but Alex interrupts with the snow sample. Tests show dirt and ammonium sulfate, yet Melanie insists she saw real snowfall, though Alex dismisses it as impossible. On Snowpiercer, Bess reports rising unrest. Leighton and Roche convince her to become the new train detective despite her doubts. Later, Kevin is questioned and reveals Big Alice has about 100 crew, plus Bob, who was engineered to survive extreme cold. Wilford learns about Melanie's experiment and mocks her. He claims he can slow the trains without harm to Big Alice, even if Snowpiercer suffers. Soon a trade is arranged, heaven for Melanie. At the border, Melanie pleads with Alex to join her, but Alex crushes the snow vial in anger. Till investigates an attack on Lights, who lost several fingers, a clear message from Wilford's loyalists. Meanwhile, Wilford pressures Kevin to take his own life after deeming him weak. Zara discovers Josie alive but badly injured and almost ends her life before backing down. Elsewhere, Oz and LJ start working under Terrence. Finally, Melanie convinces Leighton and Bennett that the Earth is warming. A meeting with Wilford ends with her agreeing to stay at a research station, while Till uncovers Wilford's mark on Lights. Wilford greets the day on Big Alice, cooking breakfast for himself and Alex while boasting that Melanie's mission will kill her and leave Leighton's leadership in ruins. Alex keeps quiet but is uneasy about her mother's fate. Plans are then made for Snowpiercer to cross the Rocky Mountain test track. Alex warns the train may not survive the climb, but Wilford insists both engines together can do it. Melanie requests supplies for her observatory stay, but Wilford refuses to let Bennett board. At the border, Wilford mocks Snowpiercer's requests until Leighton offers weekly food parcels in exchange. Later, Melanie gathers her supplies with Alex's help. Though furious about her mother leaving again, Alex still shows Melanie her quarters, decorated with drawings and maps. They share a brief moment of connection before Melanie departs. On Snowpiercer, Leighton reunites with Josie, but she lashes out, angry at his alliance with Melanie and the tension with Zara. Till investigates Lights' mutilation and suspects Wilford loyalists, but the Breachers deny involvement. Meanwhile, Wilford oversees experiments on icy Icy Bob, preparing him for harsher missions. When the climb begins, Melanie sacrifices power from first and second, allowing Alex to push the train over the Rockies. Afterward, Melanie says her goodbyes and leaps into the snow. Leighton shares breakfast with Zara when Ruth delivers a sealed note from Wilford. The letter offers help for frostbite cases, but Leighton doubts his motives and replies with a blunt question, "What do you want?" On Big Alice, Alex reads the response and guesses Wilford's true interest is Audrey. He teases her about a night in the night car, though Alex mocks his excitement. Meanwhile, Till visits the Breacher's car, where a memorial wall overwhelms her with grief until Pastor Logan comforts her. In Snowpiercer's engine, Bennett and Javi set up the uplink for Melanie, who has now been alone in the cold for 3 days. Leighton asks Audrey to meet Wilford, knowing her past as his escort. She resists, but eventually agrees, insisting it's for herself, not the train. Wilford pretends to draw guest names at random, but handpicks his entourage. That night, Snowpiercer prepares. Till fears Wilford's growing influence, while Josie encourages the tale to stay loyal to Leighton before being taken to Big Alice for treatment. When the celebration begins, Audrey reunites with Wilford and performs in the night car, later speaking privately with him. As the balloon reaches high altitude, tension builds until Melanie finally makes contact. Josie begins treatment with the Headwoods on Big Alice, slowly healing while spying on Wilford's plans. She discovers Icy Bob being prepped and sneaks a warning to Leighton through laundry. Meanwhile, Wilford holds a strange book discussion in the engine before Sykes alerts him their operation is moving forward. He secretly arranges a dinner invitation for Audrey. On Snowpiercer, Audrey shares the invite with Leighton, Ruth, Bennett, and Javi. Though some fear she'll be trapped, she insists Wilford would never hold her. Bennett then reveals a flaw in Big Alice's comms that lets them eavesdrop, and Audrey agrees to use it. Back in the lab, Josie struggles with panic until Icy Bob comforts her, but the Headwoods soon prepare to sedate her. Leighton gathers his allies, stressing train security and admitting Josie is feeding them intel, though Till worries more about tension between Tailie's and the Breachmen. Pike, meanwhile, clashes with Terrence after Osweiler and LJ set him up, and Leighton tries but fails to strike a deal with the gang boss. Later, Bennett and Javi reveal Melanie has missed her uplink and may be gone. That night, Josie's warning comes too late as multiple Breachmen are killed. Audrey, however, chooses to remain with Wilford. Melanie reaches the Breslauer weather station, where she must spend a month gathering climate data. Inside, she finds 2 dead researchers but enough food to survive. She restores power and systems, though the thin air leaves her struggling. Memories of her past return, especially her complicated history with Wilford. She recalls the grand opening of Snowpiercer, where he admitted the train was partly her achievement, though he would never publicly credit her. As isolation deepens, hallucinations of Wilford and even Leighton torment her. She questions her sanity, especially when she wakes to find food missing. A flashback reveals how, before departure, Wilford replaced scientists with guards. When Melanie resisted, he mocked her and later ordered jackboots to fire on passengers. Horrified, she made the painful choice to take the train without him or her family. At the station, Melanie notices a rat and realizes geothermal heat must be sustaining life. She tracks it to a hidden vent, sparking hope. Later, a storm knocks down her antenna, severing the uplink with Snowpiercer, but she repairs it just in time. When her month ends, she eagerly awaits pickup, only to see the train speed past without stopping, leaving her stranded in the snow. Till grows worried after the riot that killed 8 Breachmen, fearing Snowpiercer is spinning out of control. Boyan blames the tale, but Leighton defends them. Searching for answers, Till questions LJ and Osweiler, who leads her to Katya, an antique dealer. Katya admits she once traded with Wilford's circle, and her grandson reveals the jacket button at the crime scene came from a first-class passenger. Meanwhile, Audrey remains on Big Alice, leaving the engine crew uneasy. Wilford confronts her about sabotaging comms, but she insists she stayed because of their bond. To prove loyalty, he sends her to fix Kevin, who survived his earlier ordeal. Audrey calms him and restores his devotion to Wilford, earning her place again. On Snowpiercer, tensions rise as Boscovich accuses the tale. Roche and Ruth debate loyalty, while Ruth later comforts young Winnie, finally apologizing for her role in Suzanne's death. Violence grows and Pike is taken hostage. Leighton nearly sacrifices himself, but Ruth convinces the mob to stop. Till uncovers Pastor Logan as the mastermind behind the murders. After a brutal fight, he dies during a failed attempt to martyr himself. As Snowpiercer passes the corkscrew, cars light red lanterns for Wilford, showing his influence spreading. Snowpiercer gathers to honor the fallen Breachmen, but Leighton notices many brakemen flashing the W sign for Wilford. Though Roche assures him it's against tradition, doubt lingers, till fears the tale is still blamed. But Pelton reminds them Second still supports Leighton. Roche then moves his daughter up train for safety, though his family feels uneasy. On Big Alice, Alex questions Wilford about Snowpiercer's venting, but he brushes her off. He instead visits Josie, showing her how the Headwoods treatments are working, and granting her more freedom. Later, Audrey meets Josie and tries convincing her to embrace life on Big Alice, but Josie insists she belongs on Snowpiercer. Soon after, Josie learns she can withstand extreme cold, hinting at a new role ahead. Back on Snowpiercer, leaks threaten the train. Bennett and Leighton convince a shaken Bokey to help fix the gills, realizing Icy Bob sabotaged them. Bokey sees Wilford's betrayal and finally turns to Leighton's side. Meanwhile, tensions rise as people ask whether to side with Leighton or Wilford. When Snowpiercer's engine malfunctions, Wilford is brought aboard to fix it. He saves the train, but uses the moment to reclaim power. Leighton is arrested. Roche's family is forced into drawers and Wilford takes control once more. Life under Wilford grows harsher as rules tighten, and Ruth admits that hope is no longer used to unite but to control. She meets Till and Zara, who reveal Leighton is being kept in the swamp, a filthy labor station, leaving them worried about his fate. Wilford prepares for a grand event, ordering Ruth and Kevin to run a census and push surveys using stolen medical files. Ruth resents his tactics, feeling betrayed by what hospitality has become. In the engine, Javi is transferred to Big Alice, where Alex keeps her distance and shuts him out of Wilford's gathering. Meanwhile, Josie confronts the Headwoods about her altered body, refusing to become another Icy Bob despite her new resistance to cold. The big reveal is a carnival car, where Wilford stages a puppet show painting Melanie as gone and himself as savior. Bennett privately admits they lost contact with Melanie 10 days ago, but insists she's strong. Later, Wilford hosts a dinner with Ruth, Till, Zara, LJ, Osweiler, and Alex. Audrey exposes secrets, Osweiler surprises with a moving piano performance, and Alex lashes out when Wilford hints at abandoning Melanie. Ruth refuses to denounce Melanie and is stripped of her teal uniform, sent to compost alongside Leighton. Yet hope flickers when Javi secretly receives a signal. Melanie is alive. Alex sits in confinement after defying Wilford, finally realizing Melanie's way was the right path. When Wilford demands an apology, she refuses, quietly shifting her loyalty to Leighton. Meanwhile, in compost, Leighton and Ruth escape after killing a guard, determined to find Melanie. They discover Alex and reveal Melanie is alive, but she stays behind to trick Wilford, warning them the Rocky Mountain test track requires both engines. Josie, now resistant to the cold, begins embracing her transformation despite the Headwoods' pressure. In the engine, Leighton and Ruth free Javi, who secretly signals Bennett. The rebels sneak through disguised as carnival workers and rally allies like Lights and Boscovich. At the track, Bennett fights Sykes and forces a switch, moving the train onto the test line. Wilford quickly suspects sabotage, storms Big Alice's engine, and unleashes his dog on Javi. The train speeds past Melanie, leaving her behind. Enraged, Alex slashes Wilford's neck, but he survives, sending Josie outside on a dangerous mission. Leighton, Ruth, Bokey, and Alex hatch a bold plan to steal cars and form a pirate train. Josie destroys the aquarium car, severing Snowpiercer, though Ruth is left behind. At Breslau, the crew finds Melanie gone, but her data intact, proof the Earth is warming. 6 months later, the pirate train, now only 10 cars long, keeps circling the globe searching for warm spots based on Melanie's climate model. Leighton and Alex carry her final letter, while Wilford controls the remaining 1,000 cars under brutal rule, turning Snowpiercer into a frozen work camp. Conditions are miserable, energy is scarce, and Ruth secretly leads a resistance from hiding. Zara, now working close to Wilford, secretly slips messages to Ruth, while Javier, scarred but alive, is forced back into service. The pirate train explores a site in North Korea where Ben falls into a hidden cavity. Leighton and Josie search for him, their bond hinted at with a brief kiss before tension follows. Inside, Leighton discovers an underground reactor and even a hidden survivor. Meanwhile, Alex must keep the train moving to prevent the engine from overheating. On Wilford's side, shortages worsen as crops freeze and entire sections lose heat. He refuses to cut first class, forcing harsher measures while Kevin hunts the resistance. When Ruth's hideout is discovered, she shifts operations again. Back on the pirate train, Miss Audrey and Martin attempt a coup but fail. Leighton rescues Ben and returns with the new survivor. Ruth continues hiding in the frozen back cars, secretly using rats in the pipes to pass messages to Pike. Wilford, meanwhile, reveals his newest weapon, an EMP pulse located in the tail of Big Alice. Its devastating test run proves it could cripple Leighton's train. Elsewhere, Osweiler proposes to LJ, who accepts, rushing to share the news with Wilford. He spins the wedding into a distraction for the masses, though Osweiler soon clashes with LJ over Wilford's manipulations. Wilford warns him to stay obedient, reminding him of his past shady dealings. On the pirate train, Leighton and Ben confirm Melanie's data. The Earth is warming, but it won't be livable for a century. The only real hope is a hotspot in Africa. Food shortages push Leighton toward reclaiming Snowpiercer. He also awakens Asha, a survivor who reveals she lived with Korean scientists in a reactor until marauders, the cold, and radiation wiped them out. She's amazed the train still runs. Javi, battered under Wilford's control, briefly meets Ruth and warns her about the weapon. Ruth then surrenders as a ploy while Pike sabotages the EMP, destroying it seconds before firing. The blast still hits both trains, but Leighton now has Wilford's location, setting the stage for war. Wilford powers through debris laid across the tracks, determined that nothing will stop Big Alice. He predicts Leighton will try to attack from the side, so he brings Zara in as part of his scheme. On the other train, Josie prepares for a risky jump to breach Big Alice and rescue Ruth, but everything unravels when Wilford unveils his secret weapon, a harpoon launcher. It pierces Snowpiercer's tail, forcing Leighton to detach 4 cars and sacrifice them. Wilford then cuts all comms and Leighton follows suit. Resistance fighters are locked in the night car until Pike sneaks in and helps set off fireworks to signal Snowpiercer. With their location revealed, Leighton uses Josie as bait, luring Wilford into a showdown. As the trains face off head-to-head, Josie cracks Big Alice's windshield, sending Wilford stumbling right into Leighton, who forces him to surrender. The trains reconnect, and focus shifts toward the Horn of Africa. Leighton informs Ruth he'll hold a vote to decide their future. Wilford is thrown into lockup, Audrey is pushed to 3rd class, and Asha is introduced during the broadcast to sell the dream of New Eden. The vote swings in Leighton's favor, but Asha's troubled state leaves a cloud of uncertainty. Snowpiercer grinds to a halt after running into abandoned Big Alice cars anchored to the tracks. Alex, still shaken by memories of Melanie, joins Ben to detach the carriages using batteries. Inside, they find bodies of Wilford's old crew, including Alex's childhood friend Shiloh, sacrificed during a brutal culling. The discovery leaves her torn between hate and lingering attachment for Wilford. Meanwhile, Wilford scribbles maps on the walls of his cell, smirking when he realizes exactly where the train has stopped. On board, Leighton has Asha speak about New Eden, but her trauma surfaces in disturbing visions until Till helps her back to her quarters. Pike grows restless, disillusioned with Leighton's leadership. He shares a banana and a kiss with Ruth, believing she should lead, though she disagrees. Elsewhere, Leighton learns Zara accepted prenatal gene therapy from the Headwoods to give their baby an advantage. Furious, he confronts her, but Zara insists it was her choice. Their argument is cut short when Ben and Alex struggle to release the cars. Leighton reluctantly considers Wilford's help, but Roche injects him in vengeance, leaving him near death. Alex pushes through alone, guided by her vision of Melanie, and succeeds. The train rolls forward, though past ghosts linger. Passengers prepare for Zara's baby by decorating the name tree, where everyone hangs suggestions for the parents to choose from. Miss Gillies leads her class in the tradition, but the celebration is interrupted when Zara goes into labor. Till, Andre, and young Winnie rush her to the Headwoods lab, though Andre worries about trusting the doctors there. Ruth and Tristan discuss ringing the baby bell, a rare joy on the train. But during the ceremony, the tree mysteriously catches fire. The blaze is quickly contained, but suspicions rise. Andre and Till investigate, discovering ethanol was used. They question Oz and LJ at the night car, who insist they only serve tiny amounts. Following the lead, they learn from Z-Rec that his stash was stolen, pointing to something bigger. Meanwhile, Dr. Pelton clashes with the Headwoods, accusing them of reckless experimentation. Zara's condition worsens as her temperature drops. Elsewhere, Pike approaches Ruth with a proposal to break away from Andre's leadership, but she refuses, committed to her new role. Soon, another fire erupts in the seed bank, revealed as a distraction. Pike emerges from the shadows, detonating a bomb. Despite the chaos, Andre makes it back in time. Zara safely delivers baby Liana, bringing hope to the train. Pike's perspective reveals his role in both the name tree fire and the seed bank bombing. Haunted by nightmares of Ruth leaving him and visions of Strongboy, he's jolted awake by Z-Rec and Astrid, who warn that someone is targeting Leighton. The group rushes to Big Alice, where Leighton asks them to protect Zara and newborn Liana. Pike stays at the engine while the others guard the border. Till and Sykes soon discover stolen ammonium nitrate, the same material once used in the Year 3 rebellion. Paired with Z-Rec's stolen ethanol, it confirms the bombs were homemade. Lights, now running a repair stall with prosthetic fingers, tells Till her cookbook's bomb recipe was stolen. Only the old Tailie War Council knew about it, leaving Pike as the prime suspect. Suspicion grows when Pike briefly holds Liana, forcing Leighton and Zara to take her back. Pike flees, reconnecting with Asha, who hints New Eden may be a lie. Investigating further, Leighton and Till find the recipe hidden in Pike's quarters. Ruth admits she once shared a bond with him, but accepts the truth. The Tailies revive old Ivan's way, talk or fight. Pike confronts Leighton exposing secrets, but chooses knives. After a brutal clash, Leighton kills Pike. His death leaves the train mourning, while Leighton quietly bears the weight. Leighton slips into a strange dream after collapsing in the tail. He wanders through an empty engine, sees symbols replaced with skulls, and is dragged into rooms where familiar faces appear in odd roles. Ruth, Javi, and even Wilford show up, guiding him through surreal encounters. Winnie leads him to a library full of plants, while Till insists this is no dream and warns he's close to death. In reality, Josie, Zara, and Z-Rec rush Leighton to Dr. Pelton, who reveals his brain is swelling and he's in a coma. As loved ones stay by his side, Leighton's mind keeps spinning. Inside the dream, he meets Bennett as a forger, Zara as a cartographer, and others playing strange parts. Codes, tests, and betrayals push him deeper, while Pike appears urging him to confess. Miss Audrey eventually frees him, guiding him closer to escape. In the waking world, Wilford secretly plans with Alex, convinced Melanie may still be alive. Meanwhile, Zara makes peace with Josie, admitting she and Leighton work better as co-parents. Finally, after journeys through symbols, riddles, and haunting memories, Leighton wakes up. Though weak, he realizes his lies have carried heavy weight, while Wilford sets his sights on Melanie. Asha continues to struggle with life aboard the train. Ruth visits her and learns the dark truth of her past. Asha once poisoned fellow survivors at the nuclear plant to protect her nephew, only to lose him to illness and end his suffering herself. Hoping to help, Ruth encourages her to find purpose in AGSEC. Leighton later checks in, asking about the dragon blood tree from his visions. Asha admits the image came from her old calendar, a reminder of the world's beauty, though Leighton grows doubtful about New Eden. Meanwhile, Bennett and Alex notice irregular track switch data suggesting a vehicle may have moved near the Rocky Mountains. The idea sparks hope that Melanie could still be alive, though survival there seems impossible. Despite Alex's doubts, Leighton consults Wilford, who claims he means no harm. Ruth later updates the passengers, while Bennett and Alex lean on each other under the stress. Suddenly, Asha detects dangerous volcanic gases approaching. Though Wilford insists the train can withstand it, damage in AgSec proves otherwise. Sykes nearly dies before Javi saves her. When Leighton and Asha try to shut the intake, the bulky suits fail. Asha sacrifices herself, sealing it barehanded, saving everyone. Leighton and Ruth mourn her brave final act. Ben shares his thoughts as the story shifts to a smaller maintenance locomotive where Melanie has survived in suspension. During her brief waking cycles, she records logs while hoping for a sign of Snowpiercer. On her second rotation, the main train finally finds her. With Josie and Leighton's help, Ben chains the small engine to Snowpiercer and hoists it into the docking car. 3 days later, Melanie awakens in the clinic and reunites with Alex. The two share an emotional moment, confessing that they thought of each other constantly during their time apart. Soon after, Melanie learns from Ben and Alex about Leighton's New Eden lie. She confronts him, comparing his actions to her own past choices, and insists the plan lacks critical thought. Melanie also requests to see Wilford, who claims he's tired of being the only rational voice on board. He argues the track to New Eden is unsafe, sowing further doubt. During a celebration, Melanie confides her concerns to Alex, though Alex remains hopeful. Later, Melanie exposes Leighton's deception to the train, sparking chaos. She seizes control of the engine, locking everyone out. Over the comms, she tells Ben her choice was about protecting lives, while Leighton rallies Big Alice to resist once again. Audrey plays piano in the night car while Melanie prepares to hold the line against Leighton. Roche stations brakemen in the market, but tensions rise as Leighton admits to the tale that New Eden was a lie. Even so, they choose him over returning to Melanie's rule. Meanwhile, Wilford resurfaces, taking over the night car with Audrey trapped at his side. He unveils Boki, now brainwashed and impervious to pain, as his new weapon. Melanie pleads for Ruth's support, but Ruth wavers, caught between loyalty and principle. Leighton secures AgSec without bloodshed, giving him the upper hand, while Melanie reluctantly allies with Wilford to avoid the colony attempt. Behind the scenes, Ruth and Lights steal breach suits, secretly working against both sides. Conflict seems inevitable until Melanie and Leighton privately admit they're repeating the same destructive cycle and decide Wilford must go. Together, they trick him into exile using the track scaler, finally ending his influence. Instead of war, the train is split. Passengers can choose to stay with Melanie on Snowpiercer or risk New Eden with Leighton. Tearful goodbyes follow as the trains separate. Big Alice struggles across broken tracks but reaches a warm valley, proving New Eden is real. Months later, Melanie spots a rocket exploding in the sky. Snowpiercer halts near a crashed rocket, so Ben and Till head out to investigate. Till reminisces about her childhood while they collect wreckage, but their radio cuts out. Ben finds the words, "Don't run," on a rocket piece, and suddenly soldiers rise from the snow. It's a trap. They're captured and taken before Admiral Milius, who demands to see Melanie. 9 months later, Leighton lives in New Eden with Josie, Zara, and his daughter Liana. Life there looks hopeful, but problems pile up. Power outages, failing relays, and whispers of Snowpiercer drawing near. During repairs, tensions rise when Baki and Oz fight, and strange sabotage hints at someone testing the colony. Alex focuses on seismic activity with her pet bird, Mr. Sprinkles, while Leighton worries something bigger is happening. Soon, Leighton finds Audrey barely alive, warning that someone is coming. But he realizes intruders are already inside. Zara encounters Dr. Hedwood and a stranger named Rat who kidnapped Liana. In her desperate struggle, Zara is fatally injured. Josie discovers her body, forcing Leighton to face the devastating truth. His daughter has been taken. At Zara's funeral, grief hardens into resolve. Leighton swears to hunt down whoever stole Liana, no matter the cost. Audrey narrates how she was sent to New Eden to warn about the train insurrection. Months earlier, Snowpiercer had split from Big Alice, but Melanie and the others soon spotted a rocket explosion, prompting Ben and Till to investigate. They were ambushed by peacekeepers led by Admiral Milius, who quickly seized control of the train. With Ben and Till at gunpoint, Melanie tried to resist but was forced out of the engine. Passengers from first and second class were pushed into third, as Milius turned the train toward Djibouti, a major military hub. Till was wounded but treated by Winston and Dr. Pelton while Melanie and Ben planned a counterattack. They attempted to slow the train and rewire systems, risking everything as Melanie crawled through the frozen intake. Meanwhile, Audrey rallied trapped passengers and Till patched a roof breach despite her injuries. Melanie eventually reached the engine where she confronted Nima, a scientist working with peacekeepers. He revealed their plan: use Snowpiercer to connect warm zones across the globe, ending the need for a train life. Though promising, their methods sparked distrust. Months later, Unrest grew, and Till prepared a rescue mission for New Eden. But Audrey took her place, leading to her fateful arrival. In New Eden, Ruth reassures everyone that security has been strengthened, but Leighton is restless and desperate to rescue his daughter Liana. He pushes to take Big Alice and chase Snowpiercer, though Ruth refuses, reminding him their democracy requires a vote. Big Alice's engine powers New Eden, and leaving would risk the entire settlement. Meanwhile, on Snowpiercer, life has turned into grueling labor under the peacekeepers. Bess has been tortured but refuses to talk, and Ben urges patience until the right moment to fight back. After a worker collapses, Ben takes his place handling a dangerous chemical compound. He negotiates lighter shifts and has Till join him, but both soon suspect the Admiral is hiding something. Following pipes beneath the train, they discover the chemicals are tied to Big Alice, hinting at a bigger plan. Back in New Eden, guilt-ridden Osweiler and Javi secretly aid Leighton's mission, while Sykes briefly stops him. Ruth struggles, but eventually calls for a vote. Leighton makes an impassioned speech about fighting for family, winning 3 weeks with the train and several volunteers, including Josie, Ruth, and Alice. But when Ben and Till attempt sabotage, Nima betrays them, and they're locked away as Leighton's group heads out. Leighton rallies his small force, planning to hit Snowpiercer fast and extract people rather than spark a full uprising. Ruth warns the guards are heavily armed, and the plan to jump trains is dangerous. As Big Alice powers down to hide, the Admiral taunts Leighton over comms and lures him into docking, all while secretly preparing to unleash a deadly chemical called the Gemini variant. Nima, a soldier who once endured toxic testing, questions the plan but is silenced. Sensing danger, Leighton and Josie cross outside the train to avoid the trap. Once aboard, chaos erupts as passengers spot Leighton and rally to fight. The Admiral tightens his grip, forcing Ben to help sink the docking systems while using acceleration as leverage. Meanwhile, Josie frees Till from confinement and confirms Audrey is alive, but Josie is later captured. Nima quietly betrays his unit, poisoning a soldier and guiding Leighton toward his daughter Liana. Far away in New Eden, a storm batters the fragile settlement. Power threatens to fail, but Roche calms the crowd and restores order. Yet darker discoveries loom. Osweiler uncovers a severed hand with a chip, and soon after, Roche mysteriously vanishes. The Admiral then offers a chilling trade, Liana for Big Alice. Ben urges her not to accept, reminding her how vital the engine is. The Admiral wastes no time and contacts Leighton directly, claiming Zara's death was an accident. Dr. Hedwood confirms Liana is alive, pushing Leighton to agree to connect the trains. Though Ruth reluctantly accepts, Ben secretly works on a backup plan. Once inside the facility, Leighton, Ruth, Ben, Till, and Alex learn the place is built to confuse them, with only hours before the train moves again. Josie, meanwhile, is sedated in medical. The Admiral then reveals a shocking partner, Joseph Wilford, who claims he's been working with him and holds Liana. Leighton lashes out but is restrained. The group is told they're guests, hostages, essentially prisoners. Wilford begins manipulating Alex, tempting her with Melanie's research and trying to twist her doubts. Meanwhile, Ben uses his skills to break the group out. They split up, but Wilford sounds the alarm when cornered. In the chaos, Ben sacrifices himself by overriding the system, freeing Big Alice from Snowpiercer. Still trapped in the silo, Leighton, Josie, and Alex learn Liana is unharmed, but Wilford cruelly taunts Leighton from behind the glass. Almost a year earlier, Wilford was rescued from the ice with his narration comparing an engineer's fulcrum to how a small detail can shift everything. The Admiral welcomed him, hoping for partnership, but Wilford, as always, had his own agenda. In the present, Wilford suffers dizzy spells and Hedwood warns him to stay sharp. He stirs up soldiers with his charm but quickly clashes with the Admiral, who humiliates him and sends him to the sublevels with troops. Meanwhile, Alex grows suspicious of Melanie's absence, while Nema keeps her busy with repairs. Leighton, held by scarred survivors from a failed lab, learns they were once test subjects abandoned after a chemical leak. When soldiers arrive for samples, chaos breaks out. Wilford and Leighton cross paths, leading to a tense brawl before both regroup. Hari, the group's leader, treats Leighton and reveals their tragic history. Alex later deduces the facility has been breached and uncoupled, but Nema admits they need a live subject, her, for testing. On Big Alice, Ruth struggles to inspire the people after Ben's sacrifice, leaving everyone to honor him quietly. In New Eden, Oz discovers Wiggins alive, missing a hand, and learns the mountains are rigged with bombs that could bury their entire home. 3 years earlier, Captain Milius betrayed his admiral by running secret experiments. When exposed, he was dismissed, and in revenge, he released toxic gas that killed everyone in the lab, including his own wife. In the present, Melanie returns to the facility, unaware of how far things have spiraled. Leighton and Wilford work below, setting traps for incoming soldiers, while Alex suspects Nema of hiding truths about her mother's mission. Meanwhile, Osweiler uncovers more bombs tied to New Eden, sparking panic among the people. Melanie eventually reunites with Leighton and Wilford, learning Liana is alive in the infirmary with Josie. Hedwood surprisingly gives the baby back, though she's been hooked up to an IV. Elsewhere, Wilford schemes against Milius, but in a twist, Milius kills him, only for Wilford to strike back and kill Milius instead, seizing control of the facility. Melanie and Alex discover horrifying data. Project Gemini, meant to fix the atmosphere, would actually erode it further and doom humanity. Nema refuses to accept the truth, driven by obsession. As chaos erupts, Wilford poisons himself with a cigar, and Nema gasses Melanie unconscious. Leighton and Josie are left stranded, cut off from the main train, while New Eden reels from explosions along the tracks. The fight for New Eden heats up as Javi barely survives an explosion. He's injured, but alive, and once patched up, power is restored to the settlement. Meanwhile, Alex takes control of Snowpiercer, unaware that Josie and Leighton are stranded outside. Against the freezing cold, Roche suddenly appears in stolen snow gear, helping them escape. Leighton drifts in and out of consciousness, but manages to reunite with Josie and baby Liana once they reach New Eden. Tension grows as Ruth and Leighton calculate they only have about a day before Nema and his forces strike. To block enemy explosives, Ruth suggests moving Big Alice into position. Javi, still shaken by Ben's death, comes up with a plan to intercept the enemy's bomb signals. The townsfolk brace for battle, sharing stories and spending what could be their last night together. Nema manipulates Alex into helping, convincing her to confront her friends. She arrives in New Eden under heavy watch as soldiers and snipers open fire, causing chaos. Leighton distracts the sniper while others move in to stop the threat. In the confusion, Alex reaches the main console but is forced at gunpoint to switch the track, leaving everyone's fate uncertain. Mel wakes to find herself locked away by Nema, who leaves a note praising her resolve but claiming his attack will lead to humanity's survival. When released, she refuses to support him, though he threatens to wipe out New Eden if she resists. He insists his plan isn't destruction, but hope, even as his forces prepare their strike. At New Eden, Alex is under pressure while a sniper keeps everyone pinned down. Javi becomes the key player, working on a device to jam the bomb signals. Leighton reaches Alex, and together they escape the sniper long enough to regroup. He also reveals Wilford is gone, which shakes Alex but doesn't break her focus. With Till's timely move, the sniper is eliminated, giving the town some breathing room. The soldiers soon return, launching gas and pushing through with brute force. Mel reunites with Alex and reveals a shocking truth. Nema is her father. Using this, Alex distracts him, while Mel coordinates with Leighton to launch a counterattack through the train cars. Meanwhile, Javi activates his jammer just in time. The bombs fail to detonate and the group storms aboard. Nema retreats, leaving the fate of everyone hanging in balance. The final episode begins with Leighton and his crew pushing through the train while Nema tries to flee with the subtrain. In the cockpit, Mel and Alex discover the console stripped, leaving Big Alice bound to Snowpiercer. Alex quickly works to rewire the system while brushing off Mel's attempts to dwell on Wilford's death. With the coast nearby, the idea of a manual shutdown is risky, but time is running short. Leighton's team pushes forward as Nema stalls for time, though his men suggest using children as shields. He refuses. Ruth confronts Nema, who proposes surrender if she helps him control the passengers, but she ultimately joins the rebellion, rallying the people against him. Meanwhile, Leighton uses the subtrain's sleeping gas to take out guards, allowing Till and others to disguise themselves among Nema's soldiers. Josie, struggling with her violent impulses, nearly kills Dr. Hedwood but stops at the last moment, holding on to her humanity. As the group advances, Mel and Alex attempt to disable Nema's rocket, but he storms in with a gun. The rocket launches anyway, only to malfunction and explode. With the threat ended, survivors regroup. Mel announces a return to New Eden, where some stay behind while others set off. Hope at last prevails. And that wraps up a wild ride aboard the Eternal Train, where the drama never runs out, but the snacks probably do. If you thought your morning commute was stressful, at least it doesn't involve rockets and revolution. See you in the next recap.